If a nigga walk up to you and say, yo, write me a tweet or build me a house or something,
write me
or whatever the fuck else niggas do.
Would
y'all niggas do it? Like, stop dating.
Yo, what? Yo, no, Emanny raises. What is your talent?
Oh, shit.
Like, what does he do good?
Emanny absolutely roasted Ice viciously, and it really exposed what Ice is actually good at, which honestly isn't much. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Emanny went full on after the former Twitter influencer turned podcast personality, officially Ice. So here's how it went down. They were kind of asking, yo, Emanny, do people ever come up to you and ask you to sing or do your thing? And Emanny popped the trunk like Denzel in Training Day and hit back with, do people go up to you and ask you to write a tweet? That's the reality check right there. Ice is mostly known as one of two things, either Joe Budden's friend or the guy who used to tweet back in the day. And I don't know if many people remember that era, but I'm old enough to recall Ice lighting up Twitter. Back then, a lot of women were retweeting him because he was constantly tweeting about relationships, women, money, drama, you name it. He was kind of Charlemagne's friend, or Lil Duval back then, always posting stuff that would come back to haunt him. He'd tweet about women being broke, about other personal takes that would circulate and blow up on timelines. And let's not forget, he also had a habit of going after other artists, mocking them for flopping, shading their records, calling them out in ways that got people talking. So much so that when Academics came on the show, Ice was quick to say he was doing the same thing first, claiming he understood Academics' path because he used to engage in similar behavior. Of course, this was all in a light-hearted roast vibe, but still, there was truth sprinkled in. Jess even chimed in with Joe Bunn asking, man, do you do anything that's actually valuable? And honestly, the answer is complicated. He does something, but it's minimal. I wouldn't even argue that. He simply has so little to offer that his role was created around being the nice guy, showing up to work, contributing just enough without needing to be exceptional. That's literally the job description, and that's what you get there. But hold up, there were also some subtle, low-key shots taken by another cast member on his own podcast. Mark Lamont Hill, who's running his podcast with his wife, Melissa, was dropping insights, talking about tracking your wife and all that behind-the-scenes dynamic. And it ties into the same energy we're seeing across this whole cast.
Right. It's completely new to me. It's not even something that we ever considered. I don't share my location with anyone. I just don't need to do that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel like I'm being surveilled.
So when you go out with your girlfriends and you be like, yo, we're going out to the spot.
Yeah. Like, why would you need to track me? I just told you where I'm going. That's enough. Mind your business.
And they were all in agreement. It's straight up crazy to track your lover, your significant other, or whoever you with. It's a little over the top, borderline obsessive. And everybody watching knows Ice has a complicated, interesting relationship with his girl missing piece. People have been observing the show for a while and have noticed that he can get a little aggressive when it comes to knowing her whereabouts. This has even come up on episodes of Podwives, where she openly said that she was out at the club and Ice was blowing up her phone like the FBI. So you know that dynamic is always hovering in the background and it adds tension. I've always felt like Ice's relationship is something the show likes to tease on a higher level, kind of like they do with Ish or Emanny, but Ice really isn't the type to just laugh it off. And I assume that at some point, if things go too far, people might feel more entitled to push boundaries with him. But the tension remains constant. It's part of the show's DNA. Will Ice be okay with all that? Will he fold? Will he cry? All of those are strong possibilities, and I think that's exactly what the show is trying to safeguard against. They don't want to push too far because they know it could get awkward fast. There's essentially a point of no return with Ice. Cross that line and you may never come back. That's the third rail of the show right now, untouchable and extremely delicate. But this Patreon episode was fascinating because Janice Hart was there, and it changed the energy in the room. A lot of the guys were acting differently than usual. Many even accused Emanny of being weird at points, especially when he started talking about some of his thoughts. At one point, he told Janice, "You need a pimp," because a pimp can hold you down in certain scenarios, and Jenise clapped back immediately. No, I don't really need a pimp. Everyone in the room shifted. They were uncomfortable, acting out of character, unsure how to engage with a woman who's confident, outspoken, and lets her body speak just as much as her mind. That kind of energy can ruffle feathers, not in a bad way, but in a way that Joe Budden thrives on. He loves having a hot, outgoing woman in the room who can command attention while keeping her own mind sharp. And don't be surprised if he brings more women from the X-rated sphere onto the show, because this episode absolutely crushed. The Twitter timeline was blowing up. People were resharing clips, and it gave the show huge visibility. I've always thought X-rated stars are a cheat code for content, because let's be real, men know them, the energy is undeniable, and it always drives conversation. I guarantee every single one of you knows Willow Ryder, but y'all act like you don't. Let's be real, if you bring an X-rated star onto your show, visibility is almost guaranteed. And here's the hack. Most of the time, they don't even cost much money. It's like a cheat code. You see it all the time with Twitchers, streamers, and content creators. They bring these ladies on, and people just tune in automatically. Everybody loves seeing the baddies. And while some of them might cost a lot, in most cases they don't, and you're still going to get clicks, engagement, and eyeballs. But I want to know what y'all think about the Jenise Hart episode. I know some people still feel like the Joe Budden show is stuck in the mud, and even Joe admitted it on the show. He straight up said January was weak. Honestly, I'm a little surprised at Joe, because there was a time when he was proud of having the best product out there, and now I see a different approach, one I wasn't ready for from the self-proclaimed podfather. I hope this isn't the new normal, but you never know. Sometimes people settle into the pack, cruise control mode, like they've got $1 million worth of game and don't need to push. Nori might be cruising. Is Joe Budden going into cruise control too? Because every time I talk to Joe on Spaces and ask him about this, he always says, "Daddy, you know I'm having a good year. You specifically know." And I'm sitting here thinking, what does that even mean? What is he alluding to? He needs to bring the truth out. When he says that I know that he knows he's having a good year, what metrics is he using? Because from where I stand, whatever he's using doesn't match how I measure things. I wake up on a Wednesday thinking, do I run and listen to the pod now, or do I save it for later? And right now, I've been saving a lot for later. Hell, I did it the other day. I almost went to the emergency room. I woke up last Friday, saw Joe's Patreon content, and I said, I'ma save this for later. Then went and listened to Mandy's pod instead. And honestly, that episode was better than what Joe put out on Patreon that day. Joe's out here slacking on the mackin'. These pods used to be appointment viewing, fire content. Especially ever since Mona got hired, the main pod has been hitting crazy numbers. So maybe that's why Joe feels like he doesn't need to hit the accelerator the same way he did back when he was working with Ice. Looking back at old Ice episodes, some of those joints were hitting 190K. And for small creators like me, that's amazing. But for Joe, his main pod hitting 190K, that's like, oh boy, he can go take a walk, smoke a cigarette, and relax. Right now, the numbers aren't forcing him to push harder. Like I said, I want to know what y'all think in the comments. Also, I've got a new initiative pinned in the comments, my new interview series. Basically, I'm going to start interviewing people, and it's going to be a whole vibe.